this past Monday on Raw, we had this stupid Charlotte and Paige contract signing, okay? And during this contract signing, Paige and Charlotte got into it over Reid Flair. Okay, Reid Flair, if you don't know, Reid Flair died of a heroin overdose back in 2013. And basically, what WWE did was disgusting. And I am so unbelievably offended by it. And I'll be offended by it for the rest of my life. I am so sickened by it. This is a shoot. I'm not joking around, man. I'm telling the 100% truth that I am sickened by this. Okay? People dying of drug overdoses, stuff like that, it's no joke, man. And you're making a storyline, creating a storyline about somebody who's dead. And this is not the first time this has been done by WWE. They've done it before with Eddie Guerrero. If you remember, Randy Orton, and I'll get to what exactly Paige said here in a minute that really set everybody off. But Randy Orton said, back in 2006 when he was feuding with Rey Mysterio, he said, "Hey, Ray, Eddie's not in heaven. Eddie's in hell." And I'll never forget that. I'll never forget how stupid it was, how offensive it was. I almost stopped watching. I actually didn't watch for too much longer. I think about, 6 or 7 months later, I had enough and I stopped watching for a year and a half. I stayed in tune with it. I occasionally would watch. If something big would happen, I would watch it. But I was not into it at all for like a year and a half. And that wasn't the main reason, but I'm sure that was definitely one of the catapults to me not watch for a year and a half. So this whole Paige talking, no, look, Paige had nothing to do with it. This is WWE, stupid WWE effing writers who think that, oh, we can just take something that's real and make it into a storyline. It will help the heat of the storyline. It'll get more people interested in the storyline. This is BS. They tried doing this before. It doesn't work. It hasn't worked. I can't think of a time it's really ever worked. So Paige, at the end of this contract signing, Paige says, "Your little baby brother didn't have any fight in him, did he?" And this causes Charlotte to attack her and beats her up, and the show ends. And this was at the end of the show. This was kind of a big deal because the women are at the end of the show. They're main eventing Raw. They're in a main event promo segment. And the thing is, it's not even that big of a deal anymore because 3-hour Raws, because the show's 3 hours and people are getting sick of the 3-hour format, which I have, I can barely take it anymore. It's unbearable, this show. For some reason, I keep watching it like a moron. I don't even know why. I guess I got nothing better to do than to watch it. I don't know. I should watch something else, but I don't. I keep watching. For some reason, I've been watching since I was a kid, and I guess it's for some reason it's ingrained in me, and I got to keep watching. It's almost like a football team where you just don't stop rooting for them, even if they're bad. And there's football teams, where people do that, where any sports team, they just keep watching them play. They go to the games, even if they haven't won one game all season. They've had 20, 30 games, whether it be baseball or football or whatever the heck it is. They just keep watching, and that's kind of how I see it with wrestling. It's like a bad football team, and you're waiting for it to get good again, or at least interesting again. Because with WWE, it hasn't been interesting in a very long time, in a couple of years, to be honest with you. It's just a bunch of matches with no storylines, really. If any at all. I mean, sometimes they have a storyline, but it's very rare. And what they need to do is not do stuff like this. Okay, we got to get people interested. That's what they think. We got to get people interested in this Divas revolution. What a disaster this thing's been. A complete disaster. This is just a cherry on top of the mountain of crap that this whole Divas division has created. This whole new Divas revolution. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of women's wrestling, but this sure as hell isn't working. This is not working and hasn't worked at all ever. you've had a couple of flashes of greatness, I guess you could say, during the last 4 or 5 months this thing's been going on. But for the most part, it's been a complete and utter disaster, and it's never going to get better. I don't think. I mean, you could say, well, what if WWE has Sasha Banks as the top diva, or what if they get rid of the term diva and they just have it called the women's division? They have the women's title like they do in NXT. And it works to a degree in NXT, but NXT has somewhat fallen on hard times when it comes to the women's division because they don't have very many good workers. There's a few, but right now they're pushing a lot of up and coming divas like Eva Marie, Alexa Bliss, and so on and so forth. So that thing is in a rebuilding. NXT is in a rebuilding phase with the women's division. Maybe eventually again it will be good like it was before, but so back to this whole Paige Charlotte thing. To make things even worse, Charlotte's parents, Ric Flair and Beth Flair, had no clue that this was going to happen. So Beth Flair goes onto Twitter, talks about how disgusting and sad this whole thing is, and how she had no clue about it. She was upset at the writers, and then Ric Flair on his podcast went onto his podcast and said that he cried during the segment. I guess he was watching it, and he then went on to say, how he had no clue about this. He was never approached about it, and so Reid's parents had no clue about this. Charlotte okayed this. She obviously is somewhat in fault in this because she was allowed to put herself in the situation. So my final thoughts on this are, I think it's disgusting. I really was offended by it, and I think that they need to put a stop to this. And if they continue this thing, at Survivor Series, if they continue this thing on Raw, on television, then it's disgusting. And to be honest, I may quit watching if they keep doing this, or just fast forward those segments that involve Charlotte and Paige, where they talk about Reid Flair, because nobody wants to see this kind of stuff. When people watch wrestling, they want to escape their problems. They don't want to watch a show where they're talking about something real that happened and they're exploiting it. I mean, it's disgusting. I mean, this isn't. I mean, WWE, they're not like HBO or something where they can do like offensive things and get away with it because they're on premium cable. I mean, they're on basic cable. They're on USA Network, and a lot of kids are watching, and a lot of kids are even like, well, what are they talking about? Reid Flair? What's this? What does this mean, Daddy? What does this mean, Mommy? It's not a good idea to bring this whole thing up. It was so stupid. So hopefully they don't do this again, and that's the end of this bringing up Reid Flair, because this whole thing was disgusting.